Hey GenderqueerChat, it's Matt. It's Monday, and this week's topic is a really good one. It was suggested by one of our viewers who posted a comment on one of the videos from last week, and so we thought we'd tackle it this week because it's quite interesting and probably something that we can all say a little something about. I don't know the exact question, I don't have it in front of me, but it's something along the lines of the viewer was asking, or making a statement basically about how has some difficulty between sort of an FTM kind of identity, trans identity, and genderqueer identity, feeling like neither one of those identities particularly fit perfectly well, and basically asking us as genderqueer chat folk how we sort of navigate that space, or how we came to identify or land on the sort of genderqueer identity, if that's the case, as opposed to the other options. Yeah, so that's a really interesting thing to think about, and I certainly identified, as I said before, as trans before I identified as genderqueer. Ironically for me, I had very little connection or similarities of experience to people in the male to female sort of camp. So when I first started learning about trans and about genderqueer and stuff, like for me, I found myself watching videos and sort of looking at the experiences and even researching the things that go behind like a female to male kind of transgender experience, which is a little bit weird. I haven't quite unpacked exactly what that means, but that's how I kind of viewed my transgender, or it's how it's a part of me that I saw reflected in the trans community that I felt somewhat akin to, and that's why I was drawn to that, and whatever. It was my way of kind of trying to come to terms with things. But I had very little connection at all with the actual male to female community. So the actual sort of defining moment, it was an event that made me really think, yep, genderqueer is it, genderqueer is what fits me, made it click, was when I went to a trans meeting. I'd actually been to the trans meeting for a few months, and they were a really awesome thing to attend, and really formative and educational, and the people there were totally lovely, and it was a really positive experience. But it was predominantly male to female transgender people, sort of having a more transsexual kind of identity or experience. And I think there was one FTM then, one FTM the first time I went. But yeah, there was practically no kind of non-binary genderqueer representation there, except for myself. But I actually found that I wasn't comfortable in being open about that. I found that I didn't openly at first share my experiences or really talk about my gender or exactly where I situated myself in regards to that. I found that I kind of started to grasp at straws and tried to kind of dredge out little stories from my past, my childhood or whatever, to try and, I guess, justify my own MTF kind of experience, which wasn't really there. So I guess I found kind of it was my own internal pressure, like it wasn't forced on me, but I felt that need or desire to conform and to be a part of that, to connect with these people who are having these experiences, because I guess that's what I instinctively thought, that's where I must be headed, because that's what my biology dictates. But truth was, I didn't feel that kind of connection, and I think we actually, one particular occasion, I kind of was more vocal about my identity and kind of stated where I kind of sat on like a sort of gender spectrum, which was how I was thinking about it at the time. And somebody actually challenged me, like one of the other people there challenged me and said, do you think this is like just a placeholder identity, like on your way to the other side? Or and it occurred to me that no, it's not. Like, this isn't a placeholder identity. I'm not sitting like in the middle of the gender binary because that's, because I'm too scared to move along to the other side, or don't know the steps or whatever. I just genuinely feel like that's where I'm placed. And the people there were really respectful and understanding. They didn't necessarily have much of a knowledge of it, which surprised me a lot. I mean, as people in a transgender support group, I would have assumed that they would have some kind of awareness of kind of non-binary, gender differences, but I guess that's where the traditional trans experience and experience of us genderqueer people may differ. So yeah, I walked out of that particular meeting, and it sort of created more of a dialogue, and the person who ran the meetings sort of did a lot of research on it and sort of looked at YouTube, tried to find some videos and stuff, and actually brought some along to show people. to try and get more of a genderqueer, non-binary kind of vibe happening, which was really positive. And yeah, I remember walking out of the meeting and thinking to myself, that's what I am. I'm genderqueer. That word that I've been, tossing around for a while now, that's it. That's where I am. I'm not some sort of sitting here waiting to go to there. Like, I'm not on that kind of binary model. I'm not in that kind of trans experience. Like, I'm genderqueer, and that's who I am, and that's what I feel. So, yeah, that was the event that triggered genderqueer as my primary identity. It took me away from that, FTM, M2F trans kind of camp, and sort of settled on genderqueer. So, yeah, very much a process of finding out what you're not in order to find out what you are, I find, and that's kind of true of the whole thing. But yeah, so that's really all I've got to say, I think. But hope that was helpful. And bonus question this week is Mac or PC. What do you prefer and why? I'm a Mac user, have been for many years, and I love them. Why? Because they're pretty and they're shiny and they work well and they do what they're told and they're not all convoluted and junky with stuff popping up and virus crap. And I never want to go back to PC. All respect for PC users. I know people have different things for different reasons, but I love Mac, and that's where I sit. So, see you next week, guys.